Hello my treasures, since the mini set for March of the Lich King came out today, which is the return to Naxxramas, I figured why not cover some Theorycraft decks for each individual class. I tried to make a wide variety of these Theorycraft decks so that everyone, no matter what type of deck you're a fan of, would have a deck to try out day one. So let's begin. First one we're going to cover is a Death Knight deck, which is Kazakhstan's Big Freeze. The idea behind this deck is to use the new support cards of Rimscale Siren and Frostqueen Sindragosa in order to freeze out our opponent's board, while also giving us an excuse to run Kazakhstan in a Death Knight deck before he actually rotates out. The general game plan of this deck is to use the Frost Rune package in order to do a bunch of damage to our opponent's face while finishing them off with powerful treasures out of Kazakhstan. We are also going to be running powerful blood control tools such as No Muncher or Patchwork, give us a little bit of extra survivability and hate on any other combo decks people might be running. We have Amalgam of the Deep to act as both a undead target or a dragon target if you really need it. And then finally, you're going to have things like Malagos in order to draw into all of your really cheap frost spells, and Raid Boss Onyxia to be a AoE board clear. Now, for the next deck we're going to go over, it's going to be Evoking Zyglac from the Depths. The idea behind this deck is to use the ever-increasing number of ways to cheat out Zyglac as quickly as humanly possible, including the new card Fell Scale Evoker. Once you do get Zyglac cheated out on the board, you can use All Fell Breaks Loose in order to revive him a number of times, while also using cards like Dispose Evidence in order to shuffle any Zyglacs you might have in your hand, so you can turn a lot of your cards back online. We are also going to be using a bit of the Relic package in order to have a little bit of additional survivability, while also having some generic attack gain cards for Demon Hunter. This deck will also use another build around card, which is going to be Vander Stormpike, before he rotates out one last time. Now for the next deck, it's going to be Lost in Naxxramas, aka Questline Druid, which is going to be rotating out pretty quickly. The inspiration behind this deck is the new card Rake, which will allow you to get rid of whatever big taunts your opponent might actually have out on the board, while also increasing your own hero's attack, thus allowing you to finish them off with one of two possible combos within the deck. You will win through either using the stereotypical combo of Questline Druid of Mark of the Spike Shell, Brand's Bronzebeard, the Questline Reward, and Zola the Gorgon in order to get 32 damage, or you'll do the newer version of the combo where you're going to use a new Rakan instead to discount all your minions to cost armor instead of mana. This is a card I've also been really wanting to visit for quite a long time, just because I really loved the idea when he was revealed, but I like to do a little bit of a unique twist on decks, and I hadn't had a great opportunity to do so. And now I hope you like bees, because we're going to be doing Zombie Secret Hunter. Because the new Secret Zombies is being released today, we have a new way to interact with our opponent's minions whenever they do place them down, and because most decks right now are really minion based, this is a really nice secret to try to make use of. We also are going to be using Pack Kodo in combination with Northshire Farmer in order to keep shuffling more Pack Kodos in our deck so we can get additional secrets, thus buffing up our Crossroads Gospiters as much as humanly possible and protecting them through all the random secrets we generate. While also using very powerful draw cards such as Multicaster, since in this deck alone you should have a draw 3 off of this. Now for the next deck, which is going to be a whirlpool of a deck, Whirling Naga Mage, which is going to be Elemental Naga Mage, a deck that I've been wanting to actually cover for quite a long time, not really the Elemental half, but the Naga Mage half. I had basically given up hope on ever seeing another Naga, but with the new Whirl Weaver, we actually got a new Naga for this deck to actually play. We also did get Mistake, which might be a mistake to print in the same rotation of this deck. It does give us access to another 1-drop Naga in order to use it in combination with Spite Lash Siren in order to keep refreshing mana crystals, which is something that Mage doesn't really have an easy access to normally do. We also are going to be running a little bit of a hero power package in the form of Wildfire and Amplified Snow Flurry in order to just have additional damage that we can do each individual turn, while also using cards that will randomly generate us spells such as Prismatic Elemental, or even Vast Wisdom, which could in theory give us a bunch of discounts on very cheap spells, which in theory could allow us to go infinite between the cheap Nagas and the cheap spells within the deck. This is actually one of the theory crafts I'm most looking forward to outside of the really wacky combos that I have. But we should move on to the next theory craft, which is going to be Pure Menagerie Paladin. And the idea behind this deck is to draw as much as humanly possible off of the Curator, while also using cards like Prismatic Jewel Kit to actually buff up all the cards that we do draw off of him, because we do have a ton of Divine Shield synergy within the deck. Since it turns out a lot of the mech and dragon support that Paladin has access to have Divine Shields, or ways to give us Divine Shields on all of our minions. We hope to actually draw 4 off of Curator every time he goes off, and thus allowing us to refill our hand for a aggro-based deck. We also have cards like Bronze Explorer, Flight of the Bronze, and the Countess in order to give us late game threats if it does go into the late game. This in theory should make the deck a lot more flexible than a stereotypical aggro deck, but still be able to win through all of the buffs that we will give our really cheap minions. Alright, now for the next deck, it's going to be one for those wacky combo deck fans. A Horseman deck in Priest. The idea behind this deck is to use a bunch of control tools in order to survive until late game, where we can actually get all 4 of the horsemen off of Rivendare to die. If we really need to kill our own Rivendare, we have the Light Burns as a way to instantly kill him so he doesn't get silenced. We also have Amulet of the Undying to revive him in case one of our pieces gets stolen, thus giving us a little bit more advantage than maybe a different class that's doing a very similar thing. And finally, we have a bunch of other AoE removal tools in case we get more than one horseman on the board at the same time, thus allowing us to finish out the game really quickly. We also are using a very spicy tech for this style of deck, which is Varian. Varian will actually draw you into 2 out of the 3 horsemen that you get off of Rivendare, thus making it where you only have to draw into 1. And because we do have a lower minion count than some other control style priest decks, we are also going to be running cards like Switcheroo in order to actually get to these pieces even quicker. And if you really felt like it, you could probably swap out the light mod Nether Drakes for additional AoE board clears. Now for the next deck, which is going to be one after my own heart, a pirate deck. I haven't really covered a pirate deck since I've rebranded into a pirate. Jolly Old Pirate Rogue is what I am calling this deck. We are going to be using the new card Jolly Roger in order to give us additional pirates, so we can actually get the battle cry of Pirate Admiral hooked us off really easily, so we can steal our opponent's key combo cards, their minions on the board, or cards out of their hand. And because of the way I built this deck, we actually have quite a few ways to bounce her back to the hand, either through Shadow Step, which should probably rotate out with the new rotation, and Shadow Crafter Scabs. We also do have Mr. Smite as a backup plan in case our plan to steal all of our opponent's win condition fails, and also having control tools such as Jackpot in combination with Swift Scale Trickster in order to use any really high cost spell that we might randomly generate. Ooh, the one thing I forgot in this deck to add was the card that gives poisonous to a minion on a combo. You probably are going to want to run that instead of one of the Tuskar Travelers, so you can use it in combination with Puffer Fist in order to AoE board clear all of your opponent's minions. Now let's get to the other side with Horseman Shaman. The idea behind this deck is going to be using from the other side to summon out all 3 of the 3 horsemen that you generate off of Rivendare, while also using Varian and Flesh Behemoth in order to draw into the horsemen even quicker. This deck should be able to do the combo way simpler than the Priest deck. However, I do think this might end up having a little bit of an issue surviving till turn 10 compared to that deck in particular. We also are going to be using a bit of the Evolve package in order to just survive until we can actually get to turn 10, and also have an alternate win condition if the horsemen don't actually work out. And now for the decks that are the granddaddies of all combo decks, the Thaddeus decks. The first one is going to be Thaddeus OTK Warlock, which is going to be very similar to my Drekthar OTK Warlock deck. However, I did cut out a lot of the cards that limited the amount of minions that we could run in the deck. The idea behind the deck is we can use a 4-card combo in order to win out the game, which is going to be Bran's Bronzebeard, Zola, Alexstrasza, and Thaddeus. Thaddeus is going to be cheated out through cards like Infantry Reanimator or amorphous slime in order to get him out as quickly as humanly possible, in which we are going to discount all these cards using the rune Mithril Rod with a combination of a Amp Warlock package in order to have a bunch of draw power and some other draw power cards. We also do have an alternate win condition through Astalor or even our curses. Now, for the final deck that we're going to be going over, it's Thaddeus Control Warrior. The idea behind this deck is to use the same combo as the previous deck, except we're going to be adding one more card, which is going to be Bone Lord, which is a card that I really do love using. I've used him once in a deck already, but this seems like a perfect home for him. For this one, we're hoping to control the board until we can get to the late game combo and even destroy our own Bone Lord through things like Shield Slam or Bash. We also do have a bunch of the new Taunt Warrior support through Last Stand and the new Flesh Shapers. The idea here is to try to put up a giant wall before we do get the full combo off, as we do need additional space. This is going to be another one of those decks. I forgot to include Amalgam of the Deep because we do have a bunch of tribal minions. You're probably going to want to guard the city over the Amalgam of the Deep because that will allow you to sometimes protect your Thaddeus from actually being stolen. We are running actually the Flesh Shapers originally in the deck to try to get additional copies of Thaddeus to give us some protection from some of the hand-stealing cards that do currently exist in current Hearthstone. I just forgot that I didn't put in the Amalgam, and since most of the minions within this deck are actually tribal-based, you should be able to get additional resources that you might need to win out the game no matter what. Alright, so this is the last deck that I had theorycraft for this new mini set. Let me know down below which ones you're most looking forward to using, if you are going to use them at all, or if you have some other ideas for decks for me to try out or other people to try out. I'm sure other people will love to see what ideas people have come up with. Like always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, bye bye.